facts that I saw that were pretty startling that really got my attention as it relates to wealth and black wealth, and which is obviously the thing that we all gather to talk about. In fact, I'll start you off with one stat about black wealth. How many of y'all know that if black people were to just increase our savings rate by 1%, that would add an extra $10 billion a year to the black economy? How many of you knew that? How many of you knew that literally if we just increased our savings rate just 1%, not two, not five, not 10, just 1%, that would add $10 billion a year to the black economy, just in terms of new wealth and everything else, right? So the little things make the big difference, and that's the thing I want you to really understand is, you know, when you're talking about, this whole wealth building thing, it's not rocket science, right? It's really a matter of culture. It's a matter of kind of committing to, basic ideas of just saying, okay, let's be smart, let's be frugal, let's be wealth focused. Let's sort of let wealth take part of our consciousness. And I guarantee you that that'll make a big difference, right? If you just think about wealth and you make that a priority, then guess what? You're going to have more money than the person next to you. If you do not, then guess what? You're going to be broke. You're going to struggle. You're not going to, it's going to be confusing. It's going to be hard because, if you remember when you were in school, if you had a test and you didn't study for the test, well, what happened when you took the test? What would happen if you take a test and you did not study for the test? Then what would happen when you sit down and take the test? Write it in the chat. Let's be conscious about this, right? You would fail the test. You would struggle on the test. You would not do well on the test. You would not be making the curve. The curve would be kicking you all up in your ass, right? So, in my view, one simple concept to really internalize is to remember that, when you prepare, everything's easy. Everything's easy when you study. My wife has an aunt who is a math genius, and that's what she used to tell her son. She was like, everything's easy if you study. Everything's hard if you don't, right? So that's the way things work. Now, one thing I want to mention, by the way, is you guys know every year we have our Black Wealth calendars that come out, and I only make them for you guys because by the time you guys go in and grab them, they're all gone. And so it allows you to incorporate wealth into your daily culture by putting it right on the refrigerator so the kids can see it. And so the Black Wealth calendar is almost done. Dr. Lene Javet's helping me put that together. So I'll let you guys know when that's ready. And also, don't forget that the financial flashcards, workbooks, and my book, The Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power, and a lot of other great tools for your family are in the Black Wealth Mastery store. And you can use the code Black Friday 60, all one word, and get discounts, 60% off anything that you want. So it's pretty much being sold at cost, right? So feel free. We got Dr. Claude Anderson books in there, even though I prefer that you buy them first from powernomics.com. That's his website. But if the money's tight and whatever, you can use that Black Friday 60 code, all one word, and go buy them out of our store at a lower price. But I think out of respect for his business, I think we should buy from him. Like we get our supply from him, but I don't want to actually undercut what he's doing with powernomics.com. I want his family to benefit. So I'll leave it up to you. It's an honor system. But anyway, with that being said, let me give you another wealth fact that'll trip you out. You guys, I don't know, you may not have heard this. Did you know that the average millionaire has seven streams of income? Let me make sure I get this right. Yeah, seven streams of income. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. I'm doing a slow count so you'll understand how different seven streams of income is from one. In fact, there's something like 60% of Americans have one stream of income, and that's their job, right? So, so 60% of Americans have one stream of income. Most millionaires have seven. Let's process that for a moment, shall we? Let's really think about that, right? Um, wow. Wow. I mean, isn't that interesting? And so right there, that tells you, that you don't want to let them train you to be an economic sucker. I was talking to two young black men that I mentored last night. They're both about 22 years old, and I love talking to young guys that listen and young women that listen because a lot of young people, they don't listen. They just think they know everything, and oh, you're old and you're a boomer, and you're okay, whatever. Like that's okay, yeah, yeah. I don't know nothing. Yeah, they just gave me the PhD because I'm cute. Um, and they were listening, and one of them was starting a business, and he had just started making some money, and he was really happy about it. He was asking me about how to scale, how to expand, and all that. And we were talking about ideas in a Zoom meeting, and I said, I think that the best thing that you are being exposed to is that there are easy ways to make money and there's hard ways to make money. And what I told him, which I also reiterated this morning to our daughters, I hope that you never get trapped in this in what I call the false trade. The false trade is where you trade time for money. I said time is really, really valuable. You only have so much of it. You're going to die one day. Money is kind of worthless and replaceable to some extent. I mean, sure, it's important, but the value of the dollar is declining. They're just like, oh, let's just print more of these little green pieces of paper that people value, and and it'll be okay. Like we'll just and so really, I said to her, I said, there's so many ways to make money that don't involve you trading your time. I said people trade their time because they don't know any other way to get money. And they weren't educated on money. And I think money consciousness should be a required learning for every black child in America because and this is your big opportunity. If you train, if we as a whole community was training our kids on money consciousness early, they would be able to do such amazing things. I mean, they would really be able to control their own destiny. And so I think I was telling them, I said, yeah, I think like okay, so getting a good job and making like a good hourly wage, that's like one way to make money. And I said, now the second best way to make money is like you have a business and you sell a product and you're making, $10,000 in a day because you sold units of your product and you found a customer for the product. But that's the second best way to make money. I said the best way to make money is when you get some capital and then you invest the capital and you own businesses where you become a passive investor and other people are doing all the work, right? Literally, when people talk about your money working for you, that's what that means. It means like, look, I'm not showing up to do nothing. You ain't getting my time's too expensive. And I was training him how to be a CEO. I was talking to this young black man, 22. I said, you're the boss of the business. I said, you should be willing to do every job in your organization, but your goal should be to scale and to structure the organization so that you can have other people that are working on your behalf that are doing, structured tasks within the organization. I said, this customer shouldn't be able to just pick up the phone and call you and order you around. I said, you're the boss. Be the boss. Learn how to think like a boss. And so I personally think that that conversation we were having, I think every young black person in America, it would save them so much trouble later on down the line. And I don't know if we have enough of those conversations. I don't know if maybe I'm not the guy to deliver that. Maybe I'm too harsh. Maybe people don't like me because I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I have no clue. I just know that when they talk about the slave mentality, I think that's very, very real. And I look around and I say, wow, you're really, really making things hard for yourself. And there's so many easier ways to make this thing work. And so just going back to that point about streams of income, that the average millionaire has seven streams of income, and the 60% of American workers only have one, and that's their job. So you're making less money and taking more risk. Has anybody ever heard about the trade-off between risk and reward? Anybody? Let me know if you've heard about this, the risk reward trade-off. What does that mean? Like, it's similar to another saying you probably heard, like nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? Another way to say it is scared money don't make money. You might have heard somebody say that on their way to the boat to go to bet money on the boat, right? And what that's saying is that if you take more risk, you should have more reward, right? But when you have one stream of income that's coming from your job, they could fire you at any moment and literally disrupt your whole entire life just because they feel like it. You're taking more risk for less reward. That's kind of insane. That's kind of a scary thing. Like you have to be tricked into thinking that way, or someone has to block you from the knowledge that you need in order to be able to get outside of that box. So it didn't surprise me when I found out that the average millionaire has seven streams of income. when I explain to people that, they become entrepreneurs and all that, and we talk about this kind of thing a lot at the All Black National Convention, right? So we're going to be in Brooklyn this year. If you want to join us, it's really an amazing experience. There's hundreds and hundreds of smart people just like you that are all trying to better their lives. It's really a lot of love, a lot of support, a lot of everything. Um, and uh, and one thing I tell them is I say, well, one thing about making money as an owner or investor or entrepreneur means you have to think about money differently. The money arrives in different ways. Like the money will arrive, it requires you to put more money out. Like so entrepreneurs don't just sign the backs of checks. They're usually signing the front of the check. And when you sign the front of the check with the hope and expectation that when you get money back, it's going to actually lead to, more money than you put in. But the hard part is that there's randomness attached. You don't know. Sometimes you may write the big check and still not have any return, and you have to be able to withstand that. And then also, your money doesn't come from like one big paycheck from one good job. It'll be a little bit over here, a little bit over here, a little bit over here, a little bit over here. And then you pile that together, and then over time you develop structure in those revenue streams. You pull them together and form a little financial army that ultimately defends you, and you engage in something in economics they call income smoothing. Income smoothing is something every entrepreneur, every investor should understand, which is basically all it means is that you store your nuts for the winter. That's it. It means when times are good, you prepare for when times are bad, and when times are bad, you prepare for when times will be good. So you just kind of always you're always kind of getting ready for the next stage so that times are never extremely good or extremely bad. They're always kind of in the middle. Smoothing. You reduce risk in your because there's an inherent risk that comes with getting multiple streams of income, right? It reduces risk on one hand because you have multiple streams, but there is a volatility in each stream that you don't have with a job. Like your boss, he's going to give you a shitty paycheck, but he's going to at least make sure you get that paycheck every 2 weeks as long as you're employed and there's a consistency there. So it's like you're consistently miserable, right? So if you're miserable with your job, miserable with your pay, it's like at least you know what you're going to get. And sometimes, like a bad relationship, familiarity becomes comfortable for us, right? Just like you think about somebody in a bad relationship, it's like, well, I don't like this person and they're not nice to me, but this is what I'm used to. I'm comfortable here. And a lot of times we focus on being comfortable. And I get that, right? And the hard part though is that typically that level up you're looking for lies right outside of your comfort zone. And that's where a lot of people get caught. It's hard to leave your comfort zone. Why? Well, because everybody who doesn't want to be comfortable, right? So with that said, one of the things I want to share with you is, and by the way, if you're not on the text list for this morning class, pull out your phone, text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948, and I'll send you a wake up call and let you guys know we meet every morning and we do finances every morning because we're serious from it or serious about it. All right, so here is a little infographic about credit card companies. I wanted to share this with you really quick. And I wanted you, since credit card spending and consumer debt, can you all see this? Give me a yes in the chat if you can see this infographic. Let me know if you can see it. Okay, Karen and Lady Emma and Kathy. Okay. All right. So one of the concerns in the economy right now is that consumer debt is higher than it's ever been. About $17 trillion or something. Credit card debt's at an insane level, and people are having trouble paying off their credit cards. I want to kind of make sure that you are schooled on the psychology behind credit cards and some of the things credit card companies don't want you to know. Now, if you're on another platform and you can't see the infographic, then text the word morning to the number 87948 and I'll invite you into the private Zoom. That's how you can see the graphic. Okay. So if you can't see it, that's why you want to sign up. But it costs nothing to come to the morning class. It's 100% free. All right. So here's what um so let's start in the upper right hand corner where it says the high price of convenience. Do you see that? The high price of convenience. Quote air quotes. When I hear convenience, I think about when I was in college. Anybody get like a credit card in college and they made you think it was like free money? And you really thought you were getting something free in your head, in your brain, you're like, now I can go to the mall and go. I did that. Everybody does it, right? You're 19, of course you're gonna do it. And I mean, I got that credit card. I remember how free I felt. I remember how I felt. Does anybody remember how you felt when you got that first credit card? And like getting $100 was really hard. I had to work 2 weeks to get 150 bucks, and to know I could go spend $500 like it was nothing. That was life-changing for me, right? So this convenience comes at a cost. So one of the areas where they make things convenient is like on late fees. They'll be like, "Oh, you're late. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal. We got you. You'll be good." Well, the problem is that here it says issuers charge late fees that are 5 times higher than their actual cost of collecting the payment. So this is where they get their markup. What they do is they'll give you a card and they're pretty much just waiting for you to mess up. They're like, "Here, everything's free unless you mess up," right? So it's like that deal with the devil. Like the devil's like here's $1 billion, but don't mess it up. Because if you mess up, the price will be your ass, right? So here, this is one example, the late fees. They'll kill you in the late fees. Also, your interest rate is typically very, very high. We know that, right? So the average annual percentage rate is 15.4 percentage points above a prime interest rate. So they charge you really a rate as if you are delinquent. Like the rate they charge you is beyond predatory in the sense of just being like, we're going to assume that you're just a person that doesn't pay their bills, which isn't true for a lot of people. And then also, if you go overseas, there's what they call the overseas convenience trap. So what they'll do is they hide up to 8% of hidden fees in what they call a dynamic currency conversion. Like, okay, yeah, go to France, go take the trip, take the vacation, and we got you, we got your back, right? But you don't see that little fee that they're sliding in there. That's how they make a lot of their monies off the fees. Now, if you look at the psychology of it all, one thing that credit cards do, and this is important, is they do manipulate your dopamine. So an MIT study found that credit card use activates the brain's reward network, which reduces your sensitivity to price. So part of the reason as a 19-year-old kid that I didn't care about the price as much is because I was so excited to have the new thing, right? You ever see somebody that will go buy a new car and because they're so excited to drive away with a BMW or whatever, they're not thinking about the interest rate, they're not thinking about the cost, they're not thinking about anything. They're thinking about how fly they're going to look when they roll up in that nice car. So that's all. This is why financial consciousness is so important because it's connected to emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence means you can have a feeling and you can identify that feeling, right? You can literally say, "Gosh, I'm feeling really excited right now because XYZ." And if you can identify the feeling, that's the first step from what I've gathered and what I've seen. That's the first step toward actually managing the feeling and not letting the feeling cause you to make a mistake. So, so when you're happy, when they got you cracked out on that financial dopamine, you literally just are you don't care about the price, just think about it, like when people have sex and stuff, they're not thinking about time, they're not thinking about nothing, so her weave's getting pulled out and everything, she don't care, right? So I hope that wasn't too racy for anybody. Most of y'all are grown, but some of y'all got kids, so you get the point. All right, so here revolving debt also can subsidize a lot of rewards. So for consumers carrying a balance, the cost of interest almost always exceeds the value of rewards earned. So has anybody ever seen? I got a friend who jokingly calls herself she jokingly calls herself a points whore. She says, "I love to get my points," and I do too. I ain't gonna lie. I don't care. Like I know. Like here's what they're telling you, right? They're telling you basically they give you these points because they just want you to feel good while you're giving them money. So you're the amount that you pay the credit card company is higher than the reward you get from the points and the bonuses of the points. But what's funny is everybody falls for this. Like I have an Amex card that I use for my business, and I charge that sucker up because running the business is expensive. And I get all these freaking points. And one time I just took all my points and I stayed at a really expensive hotel that I normally wouldn't want to pay for because I was just like, I don't want to pay that much money for a hotel. But I did it because it was like, oh, this is cool. And it felt free, but it wasn't free. There was a cost attached, right? So it's okay to give away money to feel good as long as you know what it is. As long as you don't fall for some trap that leads you to believe that somehow the rewards financially justifies the expense, right? You can say, yeah, I know this is a waste of money, but sometimes I just want to waste money, waste a little bit of money because it's fun. And that's really okay to do, actually. It's really okay. It's just like drinking. Like, okay, you know what? You do know alcohol is poisoning your body, but hey, why not? A little poison between friends, who cares, right? At least we get to have a good party, right? So I'm kidding. I don't drink, but still, I mean, I'm not judging you if you do. All right. Then they have the persistent debt trap. So basically, 1 in 10 credit card holders are charged more in interest and fees than they pay toward principal every year. That's insane. That's crazy. That means that they're literally spending more on the interest and the fees than they actually are paying toward the principal. So you think you're paying down the debt, but you're not paying down anything. You're literally paying a rental fee on money. You're like a rental car. If I pay the rental fee on a rental car, I'm not getting any extra ownership of the car. I'm just compensating the person who owns the car. Like I've created a business for somebody else, right? And that's kind of wild, right? That's kind of ridiculous. So be mindful of that, right? So I'm not here to tell you what to do or to judge you. I got credit cards in my wallet like everybody else. Most of you do. I just want you to understand your economics by knowing one of the big drains that keeps people from building wealth. And it's just like anything else, like any other vice, alcohol, drugs, or anything else. If you abuse it, then it can harm you, right? And I always, when I talk to young guys, especially, I always say four things can bring a black man down if he abuses them: sex, drugs, alcohol, gambling. If you look at most black men who lose it all or fall apart or fall off, it's usually related to one of those four areas, right? Shannon Sharp. All right. So anyway, with that being said, that was the thought that I wanted to share on the credit cards. So let's take a little quick field trip to Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. So feel free to go hang out there if you want to see some of the stuff we have going on there. All right. So here's a quick reminder. As you get ready for Christmas, I'm begging you, like buy shares of stock for the kids. Don't give it to them directly. Just buy it and just tell them I got this, for you on your behalf. And remember, you're not building a wealth fund just for the child. You're building a wealth fund for the family, and you can actually, I think it's okay for you to use those funds or whatever, and use the capital, and then pass the capital to them later on, and just do it in a very structured, thoughtful way. Don't just get a whole bunch of money, give it to your kids so they can waste it. The preservation of capital is more important, or just as important as the accumulation of capital. All right. Next thing, what's another thing I want to share? Oh yeah, so this is kind of cool. I did this little. Y'all. I don't know if y'all know. I am team quarter zip. In case you've seen the quarter zip movement, where the black men are trading in the Nike. They call them Nike Techs. Where they. I never. Who the hell came up with the trend where they wear the ski mask? Like that's kind of crazy. I see somebody in a ski mask. I'm pulling out my gun. Like you look like you're about to rob somebody, and then people are like, "Oh, it's racism." They thought he was gonna rob. Well, it's not racist. He's wearing a ski mask. A white man in a ski mask. I pulled my gun out on him too. But anyway, my point is to say that I am team quarter zip. I am wearing a quarter zip right now. But see, just for the sake of for just for the record, I've had these for many years. I talked to George Frazier too the other day, and Dr. Frazier, he's OG. He's 80 years old. He said, "Oh yeah, I've been doing quarter zips since the 50s." So this ain't nothing new. This is just bringing back the idea of black men dressing like grown-ups and being presenting themselves to the world as businessmen and thinkers, and not just as thugs and gangsters. And so anybody who has an issue with it, I'm a little bit confused by that, because I think what might have happened is somebody tricked you and misidentified you into labeling yourself as something that is counterproductive to society, or as someone that is supposed to be marginalized, or supposed to be ignorant, or supposed to be in prison, or supposed to have problems. And so I support these guys. I really do. All right. So yeah, so my Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance if you want to go and join the conversations there. I throw stuff up there all day, just stuff that I see. And actually there's something else I wanted to show you. Um, and actually, it's really ironic. I did a video in support of Mike Epps, the comedian, because Mike made a comment about us celebrating things like a guy coming home from prison more than we celebrate, somebody getting a degree or somebody's doing something successful. And they gave him a lot of pushback about it. He also said that welfare is hurting black people. And of course, people gave him pushback on it. And I just kind of wanted to clarify and say, I don't think he was saying this because he hates black people. I think he was saying it because he wants us to do better. And sometimes I've noticed that when people come in and say, come on, you're better than this, you can do better, you deserve better, people get mad. Like they almost sort of feel like we don't deserve better and we should stay exactly where we are. So I don't think he was anti-welfare. My mother was on welfare, right? So I can't be anti-welfare. But if you're sitting in welfare forever in three generations, then that means that there's some sort of problem. When poverty becomes like this infectious disease that's passed from one generation to the next, that is something that probably calls for some sort of accountability because it's not going to come from the government. The government will never be accountable to the poverty they inflict on black people over many generations. They'll never sit down and say, "Gosh, we just really want to make sure black people are doing well." It has to be you. You have to make that decision to say, "Okay, I don't want this anymore." And it's funny. My mother used to jokingly say, talk about how she got real comfortable when we were when me and her lived in the projects. And actually, she'll just say it. She said it was my father that said, I ain't supposed to be in these projects forever. We lived there together, me, my mother, and my father. It's a place called LaSalle Place in Louisville, Kentucky, and I drive by it all the time when I come back there. The same little unit is still there, and and my father was like, no, like no, this ain't how we ain't living like this forever. And my mother was like, why? Everything's paid for and it's easy here, you know. And my dad was like, no, no. And that was him just saying, as a man, I don't want to be dependent on the government. We're gonna do something better. And I think that that's okay, right? I think it's okay for people to step in and just say, no, 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 no. Let's do better. What does that look like for us, right? What does that look like for you? All right. So anyway, the other thing I wanted to share is a few other pieces of interesting economic news. Tesla stock was on fire yesterday. It's been on fire for a while. I told you Tesla is a company that I believe is going to be right in the middle of this big robotics industry that's going to be massive. A ton of money is going to get made here. I'm a big investor in Tesla and related companies. I don't put all my money in one place, but that's just a factoid. Just and aha, you should see this. Also, I want to give a shout out to Mama Fletcher. She was 111 years old. She was the oldest living survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre. And my good friend Demario Solomon Simmons out of Tulsa, as well as Cody Ransom. I got to bring Cody Ransom in here. He's part of the Black Business School. He comes to the All Black National Convention almost every year. And he's an expert on Black history and Black Wall Street history in particular. And then also Demario Solomon Simmons is right there in Tulsa. He was fighting on behalf of not he was fighting on behalf of the survivors of the Tulsa race riot, but I think it's deeper than just the survivors and their families. I think it's like because I mean this whole horrible event was a reflection of what they've done to black communities, you know, all around the country, around the world for many, many, many centuries. And I think it has to go deeper than just saying, okay, this poor lady had to live to be 111 years old to even begin to try to fight for a semblance of justice. Like I felt really bad watching these 100-year-old people being shuffled in and out of court to fight for justice that they never got, you know, since the 1920s. And one of the things that I really will say, and I don't want to be overly political about this, but I don't understand how there are people that will fight like hell for illegal immigrants, but they're not out here fighting for something like this, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, nothing against illegal immigrants, but they weren't the ones who put you in office. We put you in office. We did that, you know, and so because we did that, why is it not the case that this issue that we unanimously agree on? In fact, let's do a test. How many of you believe that there should be, you know, billions, maybe trillions in reparations paid right now? Give me a yes if you agree with this. I bet there's not one person in here who's going to say no, right? And thousands of you are watching, right? So the fact that this is such a clear issue for the black community, the fact that 95, 96% of the black community agrees with Mother Fletcher. 97% of the people in the community were sad to see her die at 111 years old after she'd been fighting for justice since she was a little girl. And the idea that politicians can just ignore that is that makes me lose faith in politics. It really does. I'm sorry. That makes me say, you know what? I don't even want to say the words that come to my mind. Y'all know me. I cuss enough, and I'm not gonna cuss today because I just out of respect for Mother Fletcher. But y'all know what I'm thinking. It's like F y'all. Screw you. You know, you don't care nothing about us, so I don't care nothing about you. Don't come tell me about your problems. My problems need to be heard too. And again, but I'm not judging anybody's decision. I understand politics is complicated and all that. But you know, I and there's some areas where I'll show some sort of support. Like J. Mall Green, I think he might end up running for mayor of Chicago. I love J. Mall. I support him. I'm gonna endorse this man 10,000 times because I just know him. I like him. I think he'd be great for the world. Was it Mary Dean, who's also part of our B1 community? She's on the Black Business School faculty. She's an attorney out of Houston. She's running for judge. I was like, hey, Mary, however I can support you, that's cool. But really, I don't know if the political solution has ever really given Black people what we deserve. I think that the economic solution is probably a little bit stronger, right? Like, so my way of really voting for black people is saying, okay, I got this whole I understand wealth better than 99.9% of all white people, 99.9% of all Asian people, 99.9% of all Jewish people, you name the race, 99.9% of all Arab people. So I said, maybe my way of voting is if I can mobilize and support millions of families to just understand the basic choices that have to be made, not complex ideas. I'm not talking about pie in the sky stuff. I'm talking about basic little shifts you can make that will literally transition your generational wealth in ways that you can't even imagine. Then that's my way of contributing. Because here's the thing, what I've noticed, and I just watch the world, I study America and how it operates. If you've got economic power and you've got real substantive, meaningful power. I'm not talking about some Negro that got appointed to some position. I'm not talking about somebody who got voted into a certain office. I'm not talking about somebody who's a figurehead or a celebrity. I'm talking about real freaking power where you quietly did the work, where you literally have that strength, like the Philadelphia Eagles, and they got that tush push. Well, when they line up, I don't know if anybody watches football. They have this thing called the tush push, where when the players are right on the goal line, and all the players line up, and because the Eagles players are so strong, they just shove the quarterback into the end zone, right? Like, and you can't stop it. When you got that power, that quiet, like sturdy, solid power that comes from economic strength and independence, people can't move you around like that. People can't knock you off your block. And then when you decide you want to get together and knock somebody else off their block, you can. Because the easiest way to get knocked off your block, write this down, pay attention, tell it to your kids. The easiest way to get knocked off your perch is when you are financially weak and desperate. When you are financially weak and desperate and vulnerable, people can knock you off your perch, shift your agenda, throw you in a different direction, shove you around because you don't have an anchor. You ain't anchored in nothing. You are for sale to the highest bidder. You own nothing, so somebody owns you. You don't believe me? Go look at these old red ass politicians. Half of them didn't have no money until some billionaire came along with some bread and said, "I'll put you in office, but you better do what I say. If you don't do what I say, I'm gonna remove you and replace you with another Negro that I like better than you." And nobody understands this better than APAC. If you go study the way APAC moves, and that community in general, the way their masterful use of economic power to pursue the agendas that they find to be most relevant gets to the point where it gets almost freaking sinister. They don't care nothing about your opinion. They don't care about your feelings. They don't even care about the truth. They're like, no, 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 no. We have enough economic power that we get to decide what's true and what's not true. And so I'm not saying that I think that we should move in that same way, but there's certain areas where I feel like it's okay to understand economic power so that you at least can defend yourself. I did a whole training on economics, the economics of self-defense. I don't know where it's somewhere in the Black Business School. You can go find it if you want to. And because I really see money as like a type of jujitsu. It's like a type of defenseman. So when you go out in the world and you have no resources and no ownership and no economic power, you really are defenseless. It's a shark's world out here. So, I'm still reminded of that billionaire that I talked to. He was a libertarian white guy. And I remember him saying, he said, I like what you're doing. I saw your platform, and he said, and I said, well, thanks. And he said, but just know that money is real power. And when you start fighting for real power and you pull out your gun, he said, people are going to shoot back at you. And he said, and you can't sit and get offended when people shoot back at you. You can't whine and cry about it. You can't say, oh, they did it again. They're shooting it. That's so unfair. He said, you got to fight back. You fight. Because when you start really, the way you know that you're getting real power is when people start cheating in order to defeat you, because that's when they've admitted that they can't beat you fair and square, so they got to cheat. They got to change the rules. They got to burn it down. They got to come and attack you. And the worst response you can ever have is to give up and cry and say, "Oh, look at what they did to me." Because what you're doing is you're celebrating your adversary. You're celebrating the people that destroyed you. That's what they want. They want you sitting around whining about how they hurt your feelings, crushed your soul, made you give up, and made you walk away. and it's something I don't know if we fully have internalized yet, but I think it's really important to understand. So I kind of look at Black Wall Street maybe slightly different. It doesn't surprise me that they tried to burn it down. I fully expect them to. And if you build something else, I think they're going to try to burn it down too. So this is where understanding the economics of self-defense comes into play. Because if you're properly diversified, then when they come and try to burn it down, you've got something else that's going on over here. So do you know how many times I have had people try to burn down what I'm doing? I cannot tell you. I had a Facebook page that had 650,000 followers. It was so high energy that literally the rapper Young M.A. out of New York, she's gone on radio shows and said she got discovered because she was on my page. Like I'm not kidding. Like she became the biggest rapper in New York because I put her on my page. She said this in interviews. It's not me blowing it up or bragging. No, go look it up. She said this. And Facebook just came along, and because I guess some of the content was political, it was back during the era where they were really controlling like what black people could say online, and they just took it down. And they didn't explain anything. They didn't tell us what happened. We called, nobody would talk to us. There was another time I lost another 800,000 followers on another platform. Another time we got scammed and we lost 1.2 million. But we kept going. And why? Well, because we were prepared from this from the beginning. We always diversified. I always said you should never have one point of contact where an adversary or anybody can come and take you down and control you. I 14 years ago, I got a call from the Oprah Winfrey Network, and I don't, there was some person talking to me, and in the conversation, the discussion didn't go very far, but there was a discussion about me flying in to meet with their team about doing financial stuff on their platform. This was back, I think, right when I was leaving Syracuse at the time, maybe 2012, 2013. The internet, relative to today, was kind of in its infancy. And there weren't a lot of people doing the Blackwell thing at that time. So I was listening. I was like, it's an ego booster. Like, wow, Oprah's people called. That's kind of cool. And and I talked to them, and there was one thing they said that made me say, I'm not interested anymore. And what that was they said, the guy said, well, with Oprah, if you come and you get on the Oprah network and, similar to like a Dr. Phil, Susie Orman, if you're on this network, you can't be anywhere else. You can't do the work anywhere else, right? And so you have to shut down all your other platforms. And I said, no, I'm not interested in doing that because that means that if you decide you don't like me anymore or you decide to eliminate me, I'll be done. I have nothing to lean on. And I can't tell you how many times I've had that conversation. I was going to go teach at an HBCU in the South. And then this was real early. This was when I wasn't even the Dr. Boyce. We always make a joke like, "Oh, you're the Dr. Boyce Watkins, right?" I wasn't the Dr. Boy. I was just some dude, right? But I was doing my thing and I loved it and I felt like there was potential. And I wanted to teach at an HBCU really badly because I didn't I like Syracuse. I like my students, but I really wanted to be at a black school. That was really important to me. It was really hard to do. Because HBCUs, that's when I learned how conservative some HBCUs are. They didn't all this radical pro-black stuff. Some of them don't like that type of thing. And I remember I talked to a lady who was on the faculty, and they were excited to have me. I was trained by really good people, and she said, "Well, one thing is though that a lot of faculty might have an issue with all the public stuff that you're doing." I said, "What public? You mean like going on TV and stuff?" She said, "Yeah, they may not like that so much." And I'm sitting there thinking, about jealousy and stuff like that can happen, right? And she's like, "So you're gonna have to like stop doing all those things, if you want to come and teach here." And I said, "Well." I said, I said I was okay with the fact that you were gonna have me do more work for less money. Like I was making 115,000 a year at Syracuse, teaching 4 classes a year. I knew that at this HBCU I'd be teaching six classes a year, maybe making 45 or 50. But the reason what led me to justify that was I said, there's money everywhere. I can go make money somewhere else. I make 45 from the university. I go make another 50, 100 or whatever doing other stuff, right? And I don't mind hard work. I work all the time. Hard work is easy for me, right? Especially on behalf of my people. Like I love our kids, right? I said, but one thing I cannot do is I cannot give away my options. You guys know when I say the word options, literally know that there's like 10 different definitions of the word options that goes through my head. When I talk about exercising your options and keeping your options, never give away all your options, never sell all your options, that's almost freaking spiritual to me because I think the biggest curse for any black person in America or any person, any human being, period, is to put yourself deliberately in a situation where you have no options, where you have no out. So I said, I can't do that. I'm not, I can't destroy my whole business to come and work with you because I don't want to be owned by anybody. I don't want to be owned by the white man. I don't want to be owned by you. Like, I'm sorry. Why can't, what is wrong with me doing my best and shining and succeeding? How in the hell is that going? That pissed me off too. I'm like, wait, so you telling me some jealous Negro down the hall, I gotta dim my light to make him comfortable. I got to become mediocre so that you'll feel okay with your mediocrity, right? Like, no. If you want me to show you how to shine, I'll show you how to shine. You want me to hook you up, I'll hook you up. And you want me to bring shine to the university and make the university big? Oh, I can do that. I know how to get out there. But don't you dare ever tell me that I gotta fold myself up into a little tiny cardboard box and shove my spirit into this tiny little space so I can be as tiny as you so we can sit there and just be tiny little Negroes together. No, no. I mean, some of you are not meant to be tiny little Negroes. You're meant to shine. You're meant to win. My daughter shines. I tell her all the time, I say, girl, you got shine. I said, don't let nobody ever kill your shine. I said, because your shine is important. It's not important for your ego. It's important because your light is going to give light to somebody who's sitting in the dark one day. And I almost cried when I told it. I said, somebody's going to need your light. I said, you are kind, you are talented, you are a beautiful, wonderful human being, you are giving. I said, I need you to shine that light as bright as you can and never let anybody dim it on you. Because you got those people, you know what I'm talking about? Those people who will get mad because you're so optimistic, who or get pissed off because you're happy. Like, what the hell is wrong with people like that? I was like, these are sick human beings. I said, so you must overpower them in every situation spiritually. You shine that damn light. So we were talking about little stuff like I was like, yeah, like so here's what we're gonna do. Christmas, let's go shopping at Walmart. And I said, you got the idea, I got the money. Let's go buy a bunch of Christmas presents. Let's go to the orphanage and just give toys away to all the kids. And she's like, yeah, I would like that. I said, okay, I got you. I got money in my bank account, and you have the good idea. So let's go do it. Let's do it, right? Let your light shine. I really believe this, and I'm just telling you, like stop this. Like don't stop letting these small-minded people kill the thing that's supposed to make you great and allow you to really contribute to the world in a meaningful way. Have the courage to do that. Like override all that shit. That's bullshit. That's their mental illness, not yours. So when I talked to this lady at this HBCU in the South, it was in Texas. I think it might have been Prairie View. I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm not. No, you're telling me I gotta go there and I feel like I'm good at this. Like I really want to do this and I think I might be good at this. I'm not gonna mute that because you're telling me that somebody down the hall is gonna be jealous. That doesn't even make any sense to me. That's weird, right? So really, and here's the thing, and this let's circle this back on to economics. I don't want to make it sound like I'm just talking about myself. A lot of this also connects to investing because that's kind of what's required to be a good investor is you have to be okay with kind of stepping out there and taking some chances, but think it through. Like don't do stupid stuff, but you feel it in your soul and it's something you really want to do. You go for it. You make it happen. And also, I told her this morning. I said, don't ever get trapped in when it comes to making money. Don't ever get trapped in that whole like trading time for money game. I said, because your life is too precious, your life is too valuable. I said, people don't understand why they're unhappy. I said, well, if you spend the majority of your time doing something that you do not enjoy, what in the world makes you think that you would end up as anything other than miserable? I mean, really, I said, there are people out here that will pick a job just because of the money, just because of the money. And I said, so you're doing something that you hate the bulk of your life. You get one life that, as far as we know, maybe there's an afterlife possibly, but right now, this is what you got. And you're spending the bulk of your time doing something that you don't enjoy. And then you wonder why you're not happy. I don't think that that's a requirement. And that's a product of economic desperation. right? They can only trick you into doing that, sacrificing your life to do something you don't enjoy because you need the money. So what I say is the solution for Black freedom, happiness, fulfillment, a solution for a lot of anxiety and depression for lots of people is to make sure that your children are never in a position where they really, really need the money. Do you understand? Money is important. Money is power. Money is essential. I love talking to you guys about money, but money is not that important at the end of the day. It can't be more important than all the other things that matter in your life. You learn about money, you get enough money so that money can become that tool to give you access to the things that matter more than money, right? So it's essential, but it's not fulfillment. It's what in mathematics the term that we would use is what they call a necessary though not sufficient condition. It means it's necessary to have your money right, but that's not sufficient to really reach the heights of your spiritual and personal development. Does that make sense? Do you get what I'm saying? All right, so that's it. I'm done. I don't have anything else to say. I was so don't forget, buy stock for your kids at Christmas. In my opinion. Also, one more thing I want to mention: Google stock. Oh my God! Remember I was telling y'all about Google? How that's like my favorite stock. I mean, that stock is doing so well, and I'm super excited about it. And this morning, Google made a deal with Meta where they got Meta to buy these T what do they call them, TPCs or TPUs. And now, on one hand, as my Google stock was going up, my Nvidia stock started going down, which is kind of like whoa, whoa, because they're kind of competing. Before Nvidia was the only game in town, I didn't imagine that scenario lasting forever. So I did buy a lot of shares in AMD and also Google to kind of balance that. But basically, Google has proven themselves to be the undisputed heavyweight champion in the AI race right now. They're just absolutely killing it. They're like the Michael Jordan of AI, and nobody is touching them. And so that stock went up a lot today, largely because Meta is now buying the Google chips instead of doing what everyone else is doing and buying the Nvidia chips. That's huge. That's really really huge for the AI arms race. And I don't know how that's going to end up, but I do know that I believe Google is one of the stocks that makes a great long term hold. Also, this morning though, I did buy some shares of AMD. AMD dipped a little bit, maybe because of the Google news. That I saw that as a buying opportunity, so I bought some more AMD. So just in, so if you're wondering what's going on in the world of economics, that might be something worth looking at. All right, so a couple things. One, if you want to get copies of my book, The Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power, and autograph copies, you can go to drboycebooks.com. Use the code Black Friday 60. That'll take 60% off. Even the discounted price will be discounted by 60%. You can buy as many as you want. You can resell them if you want to. I will sign. I've signed tens of thousands of books for you guys already. I'll sign tens of thousands more. Doesn't matter. And it's a great business, right? So if you have a book club, a lot of you have book clubs right now where you're studying that book. So you form a book club, or with the kids, or people at church or whatever, and everyone can buy the book from you. You can mark it up and say, "Hey, Dr. Boy signed it for me," because I'm part of the B1 family, and I think that's a win-win-win for everybody. So the code is Black Friday 60, all one word, and the website is drboycebooks.com. We also have flashcards and workbooks for children as well. You can buy those at a discount, and feel free to sell them as well. Am I buying Class A, B, or C? Shares of Google. I bought Class A because I don't really care so much about the voting rights, to be honest with you. Also, someone asked a question about starting a business. Yeah, it's a Black Money 103. If you go to Black Money, I think it's blackmoney103.com. You can go there and there's a class on how to start a strong black business, or just go to theblackbusinessschool.com if you want to look around and just see what's there. Theblackbusinessschool.com. One more thing too, the Black Wealth calendar will come out later on this week. I'll let you guys know when it's ready, and you guys will get the first chance to jump in. And I think we have 500 copies. We always sell them out very quick, so I'll make those available to you. And then last but not least, the discounts on the All Black National Convention end after Black Friday. So if you go to allblacknationalconvention.com, you can get your passes at a discount now. We will be in Brooklyn, probably at the Hyatt on the Hudson. That's the hotel that we negotiated with that gave us the best deal in the area. The Marriott in downtown Brooklyn was a little too expensive because we don't really seek out all the corporate sponsors and stuff. We don't want McDonald's and Bank of America sponsoring anything like that. We let certain businesses sponsor, but not ones that are not consistent with the mission. And so we picked the Hyatt on the Hudson just to cut the cost. The dates are the weekend of October 16th. It's going to be 3 or 4 days. We're going to have segments for children, a whole children's track. We're going to have a segment for young people called Young, Black, and Rich. Constance Carter and her sons and her daughter. Her daughter's a 25-year-old real estate agent. Her sons are between ages, I think, 16 and 22, and they're going to help lead Young, Black, and Rich. We got some other young people. Lawrence Eggleston, he's called the Panther. He does a lot of work with swing trading. He's really super smart. He's going to be one of the people that'll be there. He's about 24, 25 years old. So we're going to have a huge segment for young people that really want to get serious about what they're doing financially. And then, of course, the rest of the family is also welcome, and it's a great experience. So the URL is allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. All right, so anyway, guys, that's it. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you guys for watching. And if you want to get a notification when we go live for class in the morning, you want to join the private Zoom, just text the word morning to the number 87948. So text morning to the number 87948, and I'll keep you posted on anything I see